That's
not too bad.
That's quite good. That's good. You broke up a little bit, but I got.
Yeah, our signal is we're
the double punchline.
We're doing. I'm remote recording. I'm out in the field.
Yes.
I'm
doing the what do you call it when you're in the field and bedded with the natives to do your research?
Whoa! Did you see those lights?
What?
The disco down at the pool is getting exciting.
I thought that's what.
Hopefully you can't hear it very much, but I certainly can.
Well, it's a nice little background.
Yeah.
When you're talking, rather than hear what you're saying, I listen to the music and move a little bit.
Right, exactly.
Then when I come back, I say, "Oh man,
you're grooving."
Oh man, or something like that.
So,
then we move on.
Dennis, my man, how have you been this past 2 weeks?
Doing good. Reached a major milestone recently. One is all but packed for the trip to the Salmon River to meet my brothers, and brother number 5, Tom, and brothers 7 and 8, Rick,
nice.
And the cowboy for our annual Salmon River fishing trip.
Excellent. Every October.
That's a milestone. Yeah. Well,
September.
In this case, the last day of September.
Nice.
And the other milestone that leads to an episode for the evening that you're choosing is that I finally finished Blood Meridian. And I found the passage for our Cormac McCarthy Corner.
Cormac McCarthy Corner.
Later in the show.
Awesome.
Later in the show.
I can't wait to get into that corner.
Later in the show, yes. I want to give you images that will keep you up for days at a time.
That's just what I need. Traveling, you know.
It's just what he intends. Just what he intends. So here you are.
So
you're in a well-lit hotel room. You've got a view of the Mediterranean.
Indeed.
There's a band being set up outside. You have disco music coming from the heated pool that's in the room next to you.
Yes.
And what's new with me? Oh, I went to the store twice this week.
Wow.
I bought some oil for my mower. I mowed both lawns.
Well done.
Oh, I did the dishes like 6 times. Oh, and what did I do? Oh, I went to FarmAid. In Noblesville, Indiana.
Did you now?
With a surprise guest you know about.
Yes.
Which was crazy.
How was that?
A surprise guest at FarmAid. It was nuts. It was 22,000 people in a place that held 22,000 because it was sold out.
Wow.
And it's this auditorium inside cover that has a cover for 8,000 seats.
Right.
8,000 seats are out of the weather. And then another 12,000 seats are on blankets and grass on a downhill slope toward the stage.
Right.
And because of our wonderful timing, we were about the 20th in line, and we sat center stage on the grass, 3 rows back as blankets go.
Awesome.
And our
That's
chairs,
the perfect spot.
Low chairs. And above our head, but not enough to have to crane our neck, was the centerpiece Robotron.
Wow.
Among 5 that were there.
Jumbotron.
So we get to see the small stage.
Right.
And the people on, you can see them moving. Of course, since your brain is knowing, what they're wearing and exactly what they look like, when you look in long distance, it
feels like you can see them.
You can see them better.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Isn't that cool?
Or imagine them better in this case. But when you sit back in your chair you're at, I just watched the Robotron and just glanced down a bunch.
Jumbotron.
The lineup was crazy. Crazy. Huh?
Jumbotron?
Jumbotron.
Not Robotron.
Big screen.
Yeah.
Jumbotron.
Yeah, because it's jumbo.
And
I looked at some of that lineup. I didn't memorize it all, but it looked pretty amazing.
Well, just a couple of highlights, and there's a lot more to talk about musically, including the surprise guest. But when Dave Matthews came out, a man, a guitar, and a mic, and was joined by guitarist Tim Reynolds on a mic'd up acoustic guitar,
Yep. They are amazing.
2 men and 2 guitars played 5 tunes that were some of the best music I've ever heard in my life. Amongst men, much, right?
I don't know if you know this, but
right up there, like...
I'm a pretty huge Dave Matthews fan. Like, I've been to several of his concerts, and I own all of his albums.
I do know that.
And,
I remember that now.
And
that you mention it.
Tim Reynolds, what those two can do together is unbelievable.
It's amazing.
It's fantastic. That's great to hear that you were.
So
impressed.
that, and as if that ain't enough, up comes Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead.
Nice.
With his new band, the Wolves, the Wolf Pack, and
boy, they should really be called the Weirwolves.
Grateful Dead shit.
Shouldn't they be called the
guitar? Barefooted with what's that?
They should be called the Weirwolves.
Well, yeah, I thought so too, but I think it's implied. I think that's as close as they got.
Okay, well.
Maybe they are. I don't think so. They're not Bearwoods. But he's in these kind of ragged-looking cut-off pants that are calf-high, so pantalones, and barefoot. And he's just playing the shit out of this guitar and leading it. And then out comes frickin' John Mellencamp. Hello, with his full band.
Nice.
Hasn't played in Indiana, where he's from, for 15 to 20 years, he said.
Wow.
And he was dressed in his painter's coveralls.
Of course.
He's a painter most of the time now, rather than a rock and roll guy, singer, whatever.
Is he?
Yes, and quite accomplished. You should see his stuff. It's
He's an artist. He's not painting. He's not painting houses.
Yes, I should have said that. I didn't mean.
Okay.
Neil Young. So he comes out and does like his hits, you know.
Yep.
And the band is tighter than shit, and he's just chewing away on his gum and snapping his fingers to the band. He's kind of a nonchalant performer, not energetic like Bruce Springsteen is exciting to watch.
Right.
You know, he's exciting to watch the way he moves. He's such an entertainer. Mellencamp is, and I'm sure this has been said about him. I'm sure I'm not the first, but kind of laid back. But the sound, music couldn't be beat.
Wow.
And so we're in these low chairs, and they can't be more than 9 inches off the ground. And I said to Nikki, we'll see how strict they are on that. On the grass, over 12, probably 10, 11,000 people in the grass, most with chairs, not a one was over 9 inches off the ground. Total compliance.
Wow.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts. There was bars and beer everywhere. You couldn't walk 15 feet and be the first or second person in a line to get a beverage.
Nice.
Huge, long bars, just all over the place. Built-in bathrooms, not porta potties. Huge, enormous. Stand after stand after stand of American-grown food. And I went to the pork sausage ham steak.
Hell yes, you did.
Sandwich place and ate ate the brats and ate the some other, oh God, it was great. Pork chop. And, Mexican places and a vegetarian place and sandwiches and you name it, burgers. And while there were lines, I've been to places with lines. I've been to Jazz Fest. I mean, you're talking fucking lines.
Right.
Or so crowded, can't move. Anytime you were moving, you were moving. You were taking little steps, which I needed, because the beer flowed freely. And I will tell you this is something you may never been able to hear from my face. I drank IPAs and enjoyed them all night.
Wow.
Why? That's all they had.
Yeah, welcome to New America.
And I was faced with it. By the time I was done with my first one, I said, you know what? I can live with this, and again and again. But anyway, after like 8 of them probably, and my wife and maybe 6. We're there. Doors open at noon. Music starts with American natives dancing and singing with drum instrumentation, welcoming people to the land.
Nice.
And talking about farming and their role in propagation and teaching that, all that. And it was a great way to open things up. And they brought out this guy from Indiana with a 6-piece band, just came out and killed it for 5 songs. I've never heard of the guy. I'd have
Right.
to look up his name, but you can see it easy enough. But it was so good. And then after another. So
Boy, that's a tough
after
crowd to open for,
Mellencamp,
right? Like, can you imagine opening for all of these huge stars?
I think that he couldn't be happier. We couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
And they had 3 black acoustical musicians come up, 2 women and a man, and he was a country-ish kind of fantastic singer, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wondered, why aren't the women playing their guitars? And then discovered after his set, his 2 songs I think he started with, he unplugged his guitar and handed the plug to his neighbor. And I'm thinking, FarmAid's only got 1 hookup for 1 guitar? What happened here? And it was the whole 3-person set like that. And it was just because the close-ups on the Jumbotron were close-ups of who were singing.
Right.
It wasn't all that notable that there were 2/3 of the stage were sitting there, humming along, listening, glorifying in it, glorying in it. But that was great. Woman came out and sang and played a clarinet and a flute.
Wow.
And it was like one after another. So we're kind of getting to the end of the night. We got Neil Young's coming up and Mellencamp's done. And I go to get about my 6th, 7th beer, if not more. And for the first time, I look at the thing I'm signing. Up until that time, the only thing I cared to see was the 20% tip mark, and that's all I looked at. Squiggled my name. Well, about 6, 7 beers or so into it, I discovered that each time I bought 2 beers with the tip included was $34.
Holy fuck.
So it appears I've spent about $350 on beer.
Is a lot of that going to help the farmers?
Well, I'm sure there's a percentage that's published, and I don't really mind it. I signed for every one. I mean, they didn't put a gun to my head. But I said, am I really paying $34 every time I do this? She said, yes, sir. And I said, well, that seems like a lot. I said, why is that? She said, well, that Voodoo IPA you're drinking is like $16. And I've been hammering them.
You can't just get a fucking...
And it was the tall boy.
Yeah.
It was a tall boy.
Yeah.
But
you can't just get a cheap lager anymore, right? Everything is special
they
and
had all sorts. They all had
artisanal.
They had Bud and Bud Light and Corona.
Okay.
Miller,
so you could have gone cheaper. You just are.
Oh no, I couldn't.
You're a fancy prick.
I'd go, as you can see, I went to an IPA.
Yes.
Before I went in the other direction.
Okay.
I'm not going to drink some
swill,
tight ass little pilsner that looks like it's fucking paler than my fucking urine. Anyway, so after Neil Young knocks out 5 tunes, and a great song list, and everybody was like giving the crowd what they wanted.
Right.
I mean, they were doing their...
That's what their shows are for, yeah.
And they're getting next is Willie Nelson.
Right.
But there's something different going on, and instead of having the big Jumbotron screen, and I must say behind the musicians was a screen, that screen was 3 stories high.
Sure, yeah.
And
one of those.
200 feet long.
Yep.
The people looked to be like little ant people in front of it.
Right.
of all farm-related, land-related portraits.
Okay.
Flowers and sunflowers and barns and barn doors and great places in the country and windmills. And they had a windmill up that was stark. It was just black and white. You couldn't see the stage. It was dark.
Yep.
They kept the windmill up, but the Jumbotron didn't say, like the other ones did, coming up next.
Right.
And when they said Neil Young, we're like, oh, well, Neil's coming up. Let's get a beer. And it didn't say up next Willie Nelson. And so I wondered a little bit. And I said something to Nikki, and the stage stayed dark. And then all of a sudden, this band starts and all the lights go up. And I look at the Jumbotron. I look at the stage, which is so far away, but I look at the Jumbotron and I say, holy fuck, that's Bob Dylan.
Wow.
No introduction, no, nothing on the Jumbotron. It's Bob Dylan, and he's playing with Tom Petty's band, the Heartbreakers, that he
Nice.
quickly pulled together. I read the backstory.
Holy shit.
I sent you the backstory, in fact. It's been known, and there's this great story.
How often
of
does
Dylan showing up somewhere for a practice?
How often does he perform?
And they weren't sure he was going to come, and they had rehearsed 5 of his songs, guessing what they would be, including Maggie's Farm, which of course anyone would know he would play.
Right.
So they really put some time into that, and as it turns out, that is one that they played. But there's Bob Dylan, and for the first time in years,
Right.
he's got a guitar in his hand.
Wow.
He hasn't played guitar in public in forever. He's been playing piano forever. And it's been when you read the very hot and very cold critiques of his recent concert, people talk about that, blah, blah, blah. But he's playing guitar and he's playing the old hits, which he doesn't do that anymore.
Right.
He turned everything electric years ago. And he loves to change up the pace and change the whole tempo. And this guy who was widely quoted in this article I sent you, who's the guy, one of the main musicians with him, is saying how when they got there, they didn't know what he would change or what he would do, because they knew that he was a guy who liked to change things up. And so they listened to him, and they guessed and kind of figured out what he meant, and then they did it because he said so.
Right.
And the guy said, you love this quote, the guy said, this is the first time in my career that because of directions I was getting about music, that I wondered out loud, what is the meaning of genius?
Holy shit.
Is that a great quote?
What is the meaning of genius?
Is that a great quote?
That's our episode title right there.
And so one of the things that happened, now I'm watching this, right? And I'm seeing him play guitar. He's singing just great. He's sitting down after the first song. He looks quite old, because he is in fact quite old. And the band is just knocking it out. And the guy who I think was widely quoted in the article is the lead guitar player. I think it's him. He would be the one that was running the band,
right?
Because Dylan's not. And when it came time to the end of the song, he would step forward, have a word with Bob, and Bob would make note of it.
Right.
And then Dylan might make a arm thing to say this is it and be done with it. Well, when they were singing their last song, I want to say let there be light, or let the light shine in, or some such shit.
Yep.
I saw the guy go up to Dylan, and I said, well, here it is. And Dylan looked at him and hit his guitar harder, and ended up playing a solo guitar and singing for a whole nother verse and chorus.
Wow.
And as soon as he started doing that, I knew what had happened. I'm watching for those signals, having infrequently been on a stage, but just watching Dylan so closely on the Jumbotron. I mean, he was 40 feet tall in front of me. Just a headshot, you could see every
pore
move that he made. And as soon as the dude on the guitar understood it, which was almost instantaneously, he backed up and the band just really went into it. And he says afterwards, the interviewer says to the dude, well, what about all that? Was that unscripted? He said, absolutely. He said, and it's the kind of thing that we're always ready for. He did it at rehearsal, but at rehearsal he could explain it. Here we just had to follow it.
That's so good.
And it was so much fun.
Yeah, I will definitely put the link you sent me into the show notes. I think that.
Yeah, and then after that, Willie and family came up, including his son. I want to say is Jake Nelson, or maybe Jason Nelson, who I'd seen earlier in the show. He came out and they played. We sat for 3 songs before we got so cold, and we're a little concerned about traffic that we left just before he was finished. And
Right.
And the place was so well organized, Eric. So well organized. Easy in, easy out. Stand in line, go through the thing, grab your seat, and the run from the stair. We were all waiting for noon at the bottom of a staircase,
Right.
concrete staircase.
Yep.
And on either side, there was a building at the top, which is a place for people to sit, a VIP center stage,
Sure.
way up high. Paths going to either side, the right field or the left field of the grass, which I didn't know how big it was. To my shock, when the noon hits, everyone is running up the stairs and running with their blankets flowing in the
Yep.
air. And my wife, is still gimping a bit from her
Knee.
her knee incident, said, "Go ahead, I'll find you." So I jogged like an old man can do, and it was quite a scene. That the first 100, then 200, then 300, then thousands of people filled up the grass.
Yep.
One layer of blankets at a time.
Awesome.
And we were there early enough and fortunate enough to be, as I said, like 3 blanket rows back. There was a woman, I should have taken a picture, but it would have been rude. She had to save a space for her mate with the blanket. So she laid out on the grass where her blanket would go, spread arms wide, as long as she could be, and just closed her eyes. She was there a while before her friend got there with the blanket. I thought it was commitment, good planning, and quite creative.
Yeah. This is my area.
This is me. And we were next to people who were friendly, and
That's very cool.
I literally had to walk through 3 people and a step down to get to the corridor,
Right.
which separated the grass from
Yep.
covered area, which was, and I'm guessing at these numbers, if there were 22,000 people there, that cover had to hold 8 to 10.
Sure.
It was row after row after row. I mean, the stage was a little teeny thing. It was as big a venue as I've ever been in, and interestingly, built for this purpose.
Huh.
Built for these concerts. They have holding in the Ruoff Center, Ruoff Music Center, Noblesville, Indiana. Their lineup of the year is,
I'll put a link to it,
a who's who of all
the biggest names,
forms of modern popular music. Just amazing. And I've never been in a setup that was better. Never. Better. Everything's built in.
Well, maybe they'll book us for an episode of the podcast with 25,000 people.
Could. There's more though. So tell me about the Mediterranean. Did you have your after hours party that you always look forward to?
So first I went to the Adriatic. Last week I was in Croatia.
Oh, that's the one.
And that is the one that has amazing after parties. And yes, normally with these conferences, the organizers will put together a dinner for all the speakers, like the night before the conference starts.
Yeah.
So we can all get to know each other and hang out and stuff. But in Croatia, they had a speaker dinner all 3 nights that they organized and they bussed us to, and it was all paid for. And the first night was at a winery with just unlimited local wines.
Wine.
And yeah, there was beer too.
Makes sense.
And
now go figure.
And just really great. And then they had these, and then during for the 2 days of the conference, in the evenings they had an after party that was for all the attendees as well as the speakers. But the speakers,
holy cow!
But the speakers this is after our nice wine laden dinner. We would be bused to this venue where they had like a DJ, and we got access to this special VIP speaker section where they gave us, when we first got in, they gave us all 1 drink voucher, and I went up with all the attendees and I got my drink, and then I went over to the VIP speaker section. And in the VIP speakers section, they had figured out 1 drink voucher, that's kind of lame. So they had a bucket full of ice and like bottles of rum and anything that you could want to mix together, just wide open.
In the section.
In this little private section.
In the section.
Yeah. And so it was just fantastic. And
like royalty. You were treated like,
indeed,
literally.
Indeed.
Like royalty.
And then on the second night, it was at a bar, but they gave us like a fucking deck of drink passes. So, like we had like 20 drink passes. So it was, the drinks were,
yeehaw.
The drinks were,
how did your talk
were
go?
light. My talk was fine.
With all of that, how did you talk?
So my talk was
slur.
My talk was the last slot of the second of the final day, which is the least attended time period.
But also where they try to put what they hope is the biggest draw.
Potentially, yes.
Generally speaking, you try to do something at the end that will counter that, and it doesn't usually.
Yeah, maybe
it can.
Yeah, so. Sure.
If it were Frank Sinatra, they'd stay.
I'll tell myself that. I mean, you walked out on Willie Nelson, so. But it was fine. It's not my favorite. It's not the talk I'm most passionate about. I'd given it once before, and I knew how to give it, and it was not very well attended.
Is it the one I saw?
I don't know.
The one I saw? Where
probably not.
Showed the stage being set up, and you were standing with a computer in front of you, and you were showing them how to program.
I mean,
there was a logic of making a form.
No, not that one. But it was fine. I had some friends attend, and I had one person say, "Hey, I really had an aha moment there at one point." And I was like, "Oh, okay, great. That's what you want to hear." But it was just good. So the previous year, I may have mentioned they had this beer vending machine that would you had to pass your credit card, but they charged you like 20 cents, and they poured you out a pint for 20 cents. It's like why are you even charging?
Yeah, well, because it's probably the law.
But this year they didn't have that. Instead, one of the sponsors had if you had to wait in line, and when you got to the front of the line, you had to show them that you were clicking follow on LinkedIn to their brand, and then they would give you a bracelet, and then you could just have unlimited beer from then on. Which is like, that's one way to get followers. But
sure, that'll work.
It was good. I have over the years I have a bunch of friends that I meet at these places, and a lot of my friends were there, and it was just a good old time was had by all.
I'll bet. And then to travel by air.
And then I flew to. On the way there, I only had 2 flights. I flew to Munich and then to Croatia. On the way back, I had 3 planes and 4 flights. So my first flight was domestic within Croatia on a fucking prop plane. And we landed, and I had to stay in the plane because then we took off again and we went to another place in Croatia, and then from there I had 2 more flights.
Oh Lord!
So it was a long way home, but it was worth it.
Not home, but to where you are.
No, I went home for 5 days, and then.
Oh God, it's been
2 weeks,
huh?
and so then today I got up at 5 a.m. to drive. No, 5:30. We left at 6. Got to the airport at 7. My flight left at 8, and I landed at 9.
Your neighbor take you to the airport?
No, sadly, he was not working today, so my wife had to. But I got to the hotel at like 10 a.m. and they were like, "Your room's not ready. We'll hold on to your luggage for you, but you need to come back in a couple hours." It's like, okay, fine. So I got some work done, and then tomorrow I have almost nothing to do because the conference doesn't start until the following day. So I can edit this tomorrow. And
why are you there so early then? Is there a pre-meeting or something? Why are you there a day early?
Yeah, I don't. So tomorrow there's a bunch of workshops. Some of the speakers also give like courses, and I've done that before, but this time I'm not. But I don't know. I just wanted to come early, and I'm friends with the organizers.
You wanted to come when the conference started,
right? And I'm friends with the organizers.
And it starts to.
And I'm one of the cheapest people that they get because I'm domestic in Spain. Because I'm in Spain now.
And they have to pay for your travel.
Yeah, they pay for my travel, but it's
so you're cheap.
But it's like $70 or something was my flight.
Oh.
So, like,
yeah.
And they're flying some people in from fucking California, so it's different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I had lunch.
So are you going in? You're going into the sea? Will you be swimming tomorrow?
I think I just might. It's not super novel because I live near a nice beach, but I think I will.
Still.
And I had lunch and dinner today with some good friends.
After all, it is just the Mediterranean.
Yeah, med life.
After all, I mean, yeah, I might. Mediterranean, Adriatic.
And so there's this huge disco party down 3 floors down by the pool with all these flashing lights.
It's a little background music.
So you do hear a little okay.
Background music.
But it.
Yeah. I mean, not distracting. Not distracting.
Well.
So, what a trip, man! Kalamazoo has gotten some rain, and the grass is lush.
Nice.
The leaves are starting to change. In fact, we're getting some oranges and reds, and fishing trip is coming, and it's that time of year, man.
I have a question for you. When you travel, what do you use the mini fridge? The mini bar? In the hotel room?
Where?
In the hotel room, there's often a little fridge with drinks.
Oh yeah. Historically, no, not much.
Yeah, I never do either, but it's sitting here.
One time I did. One time I think me and another guy emptied it, drank everything in it, and ate everything. It was like $230 or something.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, that was a while.
There's a can of beer in there, but I think it might be one of the $40 ones.
I'm in a man's barn that the top of it has been transformed into an apartment, 3-bedroom apartment, and underneath it, it's still pretty much kind of a barn. In fact, we call it the barn, but it's also called Pond View Lodge, which is interesting because the beautiful pond, that there is a view of it, it's behind the house, and the back of the house only has 2 little windows. So there's not really much to Pond View. You would think
technically
a big picture window there, but
yeah.
Yeah. They could be sued. They would lose. False advertising. No, it's not true. We're wonderful people. And because we're out in the country and far from the house, we can hoot and holler as much as we want.
Nice.
We do.
You hoot and holler? Can't imagine.
Yeah. Imagine me and 3 brothers from the same mother.
Wow. I can't.
And 2 other guys, brothers with different mothers. And when we start playing, what's the game with the quarters? Left, right, center.
Yes,
With
I
a
remember
bunch of
that.
guys. Left, right, center. 3 quarters on the table. Throw the dice. They're either
Yes.
there's 3
There's
dice.
an L, a C, or a
Left,
R.
right, center. They got L's or R's or C's on them or blanks.
Yes, I
Blank
remember
is a
that.
dot, you roll it, and whatever the dice tell you to do, you do. So if it rolls R, you take 2 of your quarters and shove them to the guy on the right.
Right.
If it says LRC, you don't have any quarters left. One goes right, one goes left, one goes to center. Everybody screams out, "First blood!" Because you don't win until everyone's quarters are in the center except for yours.
Nice.
That's how you win. So the back and forth. And if you don't have any quarters in front of you, you don't roll.
right.
If you have
I
one
remember that.
quarter in front
But
of you,
then you
roll
can
one
get a
die.
quarter because your neighbor might have to give you one.
You got nobody, and I've won games where I'm sitting there with no quarters.
Yep.
There's 2 guys, one on either side of me. One rolls right, one rolls left. I end up with 3 quarters and win.
Yep.
It's just that, you know.
I remember
And
playing.
they got to move around the table
I
some.
remember playing that at
Left, right, center.
yeah, and realizing
But so 5 loud, crazy, screaming men,
yeah.
you know, screaming for what they want the other guy to roll. Left, left, left.
Yeah, I remember that
hell.
and realizing that it was just all luck based. It's just pure.
It was 100% luck.
Yeah.
100%, as they say, the roll of the dice.
Indeed.
But imagine
still fun.
This band of men that I described, all but one playing, and I won 9 times in a row.
Again,
And everyone, they wanted to kill me. I had so much fun. And they kept having to cash in their dollars. I had so many piles of dollar bills and quarters piled up.
Nice.
I didn't stack it. I just let it spread out all over the table. And they couldn't believe it.
what a prick.
It was like the Buffalo Bills losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. You just don't believe it.
Very nice.
Oh, man. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I had
Always.
a weird thing happen last weekend where went with my family to a nearby town where they were having a festival commemorating one time 200 years ago when the king of Spain got off their boat in that town. Crazy things that Europeans do. But I reached out to a friend that lives in that town, and I said, "Hey, are you out? You want to get together?" And he was like, "Yeah." And so we met up at this restaurant place, and we had a drink, and then we were like, "You hungry? Should we get something to eat?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he said, "Last time I was here, I had this nice little mixed platter of seafood, but it's just a small, like a frying pan of seafood. Like they actually call it a frying pan. And it was there on the menu. It was $20. And we're like, yeah, I could share one of those. So we ordered this, and there was some miscommunication because the waiter thought that we had ordered a $150 seafood platter with this two huge plates full of shrimp and crabs and
they brought
clams.
it out?
And we were sitting there waiting, and they brought this huge fucking thing out, and we were like, boy, that looks really good. And so we fucking ate it all. we weren't that hungry, but it was just all this amazing freshly cooked shrimp.
And you ended up paying for it?
And we paid for it, and
right. I mean, they didn't say wrong order. You might as well eat it.
Well, we were confused because we were like, "Is this?" When they brought the first big platter, we were like, "That's bigger than we expected," but man, it smells good. Let's eat some of it. And then we finished that platter, and they're like, "Hold on, we'll bring the second one." And we're like, "What?" Anyway, it was a memorable experience. What was it?
What were some of the dishes?
It's a shrimp, lots of jumbo
raw?
shrimp.
I mean, not raw, but boiled.
Grilled, most of it, and
grilled.
And crab legs.
So
and
some of the stuff was hot.
Crab. It was all super hot. Like you could barely touch it.
Oh, it was all hot. I was picturing it on ice.
No.
Like oysters and crabs.
No. And clams and stuff, and it was fantastic. Like you have to peel it, so you get all filthy, but it was amazing. And we had a bottle of wine, and it was just lovely.
I could do that.
So, just one of those accidents.
Cool.
Is it time to go to the corner?
You know, I just started thinking, and I was thinking these long, complicated thoughts, and I think it's time for the Cosmic Cormac McCarthy Corner.
Yes, bring it.
Now, I want to tell you this background that these group of men who became organized under payment from the U.S. government to capture the scalps of Indians who were causing havoc in Mexico.
Okay.
And so they put together a small army of men, you know, such as they were, including a young boy from Tennessee, which the book is about.
Okay.
And he ends up with this band of men. And they're riding and they're having just, you know, unbelievable travel destinations and the description of the desert and the mountains and whatnot.
Okay.
And they saw this dust coming over the hill, and they wondered what it was, and they said, well, it looks like a sandstorm is coming, whatever. And they realized that it wasn't that at all, but it was horses and mules that were on a rampage. And then they noticed that there were people on horses driving them and driving them over the desert.
Yep.
And this is what he says.
Okay.
The lattermost of the drovers were now coming through the dust, and the captain was gesturing and shouting. The ponies had begun to veer off from the herd, and the drovers were beating their way toward this armed company met with on the plain. Already you could see through the dust on the ponies' hides the painted chevrons in the hands, and rising suns, and birds and fish of every device like the shade of old work through sizing on a canvas. And now too you could hear above the pounding of the unshod hooves the piping of the quena, flutes made from human bones, and some among the company had begun to saw back on their mounts, and some to mill in confusion, when up from the offside of those ponies there rose a fabled horde of mounted lancers and archers, bearing shields bed tight, with bits of broken mirror glass that cast 1,000 unpieced suns against the eyes of their enemies. A legion of horribles, hundreds in number, half naked or clad in costumes Attic or biblical, or wardrobed out of a fevered dream, with the skins of animals and silk finery and pieces of uniform still tracked with the blood of prior owners, coats of slain dragoons, frogged and braided cavalier jackets, one in a stovepipe hat, and one with an umbrella, and one in white stockings and a blood-stained wedding veil, and some in headgear or crane feathers or rawhide helmets that bore the horns of bull or buffalo, and one in a pigeon-tailed coat worn backwards and otherwise naked, and one in the armor of a Spaniard conquistador, the breastplate and pauldrons deeply dented with old blows of mace or saber, done in another country by men whose very bones were dust, and many with their braids spliced up with the hair of other beasts until they trailed upon the ground, and their horses' ears and tails work with bits of brightly colored cloth, and one whose horse's whole head was painted crimson red, and all the horsemen's faces gaudy and grotesque with daubings, like a company of mounted clowns, death hilarious, all howling in a barbarous tongue, and riding down upon them like a horde from a hell more horrible yet than the brimstone land of Christian reckoning, screeching and yammering, and clothed in smoke like those vaporous beings in regions beyond right knowing, where the eye wanders and the lip jerks and drools.
Yes.
"Oh my God," said the sergeant.
That is some
That's
fucking
like
prose.
2 sentences, bro.
Yes. I was
Is that
counting
Is
counting the
that
periods.
something?
I was counting the periods.
There were exactly 3.
Wow.
There were 3.
That's like
And
4 pages.
there are scenes like this. It's page and a half.
Okay.
No, it's about a full page actually. But this is where when I read it, I just stamped my feet with joy. Like a company of mounted clowns, death hilarious, all howling in a barbarous tongue and riding down upon the horde, like from a hell more horrible. On and on. And there are several like this. I've got to take it back to the library. But,
That is so good.
The ending, I have to study about it. It is so fucking bizarre, unknown to me, unclear in his masterpiece. McCarthy employs a neo-biblical rhetoric,
Yes.
a soaring, pulsing, always stirring diction without parallel in American writing today.
Fantastic. That's
An extraordinary breathtaking achievement, like a conflation of the Inferno, the Iliad, and Moby Dick. So I finished it.
that is wild.
Remember Joey B?
Yeah.
B, who we interviewed, our only interviewee on the show?
Yeah.
Joey B's published another book. I just got it in the mail.
Nice.
Just got it in the mail.
How do you
So
write
that'll be
prose
it.
like that?
We'll create it.
That's crazy.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Now I want
I
to.
mean,
Now I want to ask the AI to write something in the style of Cormac McCarthy.
yeah. Yeah, well, he could get sued, too, for copyright infringement.
Well,
But the book that I read before this that has a similar vein, all of his books are about people traveling
right.
around the country.
That makes for a
America,
good epic book.
Mexico, All the Pretty Horses, which was a great movie with a young Matt, what's his name? Matt Damon in it. And
Yes.
his love interest, Penelope Cruz. Oh my God.
Nice.
What a show.
She's a cute Spaniard.
And I don't know what others of his have been. The Road was incredible. Uh-oh. Yeah, I've just lost you, man. There you are.
I'm here.
Viggo Mortensen.
Ah, okay. I think I've
Viggo
heard of
Mortensen
that.
in The Road. That's worth seeing. It is sort of like a feel-good movie like Schindler's List.
Right.
I mean, got to be ready for it, okay? It's, it's like, oh boy. So I'm going out tonight, you should do a clip of the young singer I'm about to see. Her name is Kait, Kait, Kait Rose, and she has a band called Kait Rose and the Thorn Bushes, I think.
That's a good band name.
And I've seen her stand up at places and step in.
Yep.
No, I don't think it's Caitlin and the Rose Bushes. I think it's Kait Rose and the Thorn Bushes. Did you look it up already?
Yeah. No. But going from Rose to Thorn is kind of right there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kind of cheesy?
No, I mean it's nice.
It's what it is. But who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, she's an incredible musician, and I know her mother. In fact, Nikki and I sold one of our houses to Kate's mother, and that's how we met. Kate, her name is Caitlin,
Right.
but goes by Kate, and so I get to see her tonight at the Old Dog
Nice.
with a
I will
5:30 door time.
I will look her up and put a clip in the show notes or maybe edit it in.
So
here.
that's going to be fun.
Awesome.
There's a big political legal issue became clear today. You may not have heard about it, or maybe you did, but a judge in a civil case found that Donald Trump had defrauded for at least 10 years hundreds of customers and banks, and defrauded everyone in a fraud scheme, and could make him pay $300 million
Nice.
for what he did. And this ruling, which will be appealed to whatever extent it can be, is happening at the same time that the local district attorney of New York, of Manhattan, is having a case of him for the exact same stuff. And so they already have a civil suit with a judgment, with the evidence, the bearing of evidence at the civil level.
Nice.
Right? Which is similar. I think it's still within a reasonable doubt. I mean, you can't, it's strict.
I think I saw this headline and I think I sort of rolled my eyes and was like,
Wondered
yeah,
what it meant.
no shit. He defrauded some people, but I'm glad that
This
there's some
is new.
substance.
It could cost him his houses. His house is the other thing. Oh God, I love these stories about him where he's just so stupid.
Right.
He's in an interview. He's been doing interviews. This very, very, very great interviewer, a woman. I wish I knew her name. I can't remember the shit, but she's got him talking about the votes, the Georgia votes, etc. And he said, "You need to understand something. I only needed 22,000 more votes. I only needed 22,000 more when you consider the states that, were counted and this and that. If I had got those votes in these other states, and, that's what it amounted to, 22,000 votes." And she says, "To win?" And he said, yeah, 22,000 votes was all I needed. And she said, "To be clear, you're saying that to win, you needed 22,000 more votes?" And he said, "Yes, that's right." And she said, "Well, isn't that an admission that you lost? If you're telling me what you needed to actually win?" And you could see this look on his face.
Yes.
Where he dropped his eyes and he said, "It's a witch hunt. This thing with that and this thing with that."
Yeah.
And he changes and he goes into 5 different directions. That's a clip you can find.
Well
easily.
played. I need to
came out today.
I need to find that. I love it when journalists actually.
Morning Joe showed it today.
I love it when they
Morning Joe
actually
showed it today,
double
so-
check and they're like, so just repeat. Am I getting?
Yeah.
They repeat what they said. Is
And he
this?
kept saying, "Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's
yeah."
They should all do that because then it's That's great.
That's
I love
why
it.
they don't want him. That's why they don't want him in the debate. That's for sure. And the debate's tonight. The second one.
Ah, awesome.
So only one of the dudes did get enough. Asa Hutchinson. No shock there.
Don't even know who that is.
Arkansas governor. He didn't get enough of the 3 qualifications. So it's Matswamy. What's his name? You know it better than I do. Vivek.
I've forgotten already. Yeah.
Vivek Matswamy.
Ramaswamy.
And Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Ramaswamy. Chris Christie, of course. And at the last minute, the governor from South Dakota got in. And this guy, his first debate, they're giving the welcoming. And he says, listen, I just want to say something up front. I come from a town of 800 people, and it's a really big deal for me to be here up on stage with these other fine people running for president of the United States. He was so humble.
How cute.
And he was in a boot because he hurt his foot. And he said, and I have to say that I must have taken it too seriously when someone wished me good luck and told me to break a leg.
Yes. Good dad joke.
He was in a boot. Ha ha. He had a couple of things to jive in, but he was finding it a hard time to be here. In the meantime, DeSantis, who's the fucking nutbag from Florida, who with Matt Gaetz probably were born in hell, with whatever Rosemary Baby-esque type of history they come from, freaking demons too, and oh Lord, it's just a mess. It's just a mess. And his standing has been threatened by Haley.
Nikki Haley.
What's her name?
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley from South Carolina, who did a great job at the last debate.
Right.
You know what she said to people? She said, you people up here, none of you are telling the truth to these people who are listening. The reason that we're in so much trouble with the debt is because of Republicans.
Wow.
We have gone 4 administrations, and we added more to the debt under the last 4 years under Donald Trump than we have in all presidents. If you want to know what has to be done, we have to band together and start being good Republicans.
Holy
Wow.
shit. Truth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She bumped up, and now she's threatening DeSantis for second place in New Hampshire. 79%, a poll came out today, 79% of the voters, Republican voters in Iowa, 79% said they're considering another candidate besides Trump. Which will give Joe Biden a heartache. Joe Biden could get beat by any number of those guys.
Right.
He really could.
Yeah.
He can't. He won't be beat by Trump. Trump's his dream candidate.
Maybe.
His dream anti-candidate. In a peculiar sort of way, right?
I guess. Well, time will tell.
So all that by current news.
Excellent. Well, you catch lots of fish.
And the disco continues. I mean, so are they partying in the pool? I mean, what's going on? Can you get your camera over there?
From what I can
right through your window?
Yeah, from what I can tell, no. It's just a DJ and like other places. I think there are people milling around with drinks or something. I'll have to go investigate. But
right out your door, huh? Well, we both have things going on. What time we got? Well, I got a hard stop here.
You gotta go.
Time to go. Hey, Cormac
Hey, man.
McCarthy Corner, huh?
I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna reread because of this. I'm gonna reread starting when I get back. I don't think I'll go to the crossing because it's too terrible. But I'm gonna read No Country for Old Men.
Nice.
Another great screenplay in movie for which there were words. Not Bronson. Is that his name? Yeah.
Who? The direct? Who?
No. His father was a great movie star. He's Brolin.
Yes.
Josh Brolin. plays the main character, one of the main characters, and our great friend Javier
Bardem.
who?
Javier Bardem,
Yes, Bardem.
who is married to Penelope Cruz from a previous mention.
Yes. Oh, these are great movies. Anyway, I'm out of here.
All right. Peace,
Share
brother.
stories in 2 weeks.
All right. See you then.
Safe travels, bro.
Catch lots of fish.
Don't drown in the many seas. Don't drown in the many seas that you're going across.
Okay. Okay, that's it for episode number 196. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/196. It will be interesting to see if YouTube notices any of those pop songs in the background. I apologize for the audio recording, but there was really nothing I could do about it. You can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour, where at the Gin Martinis level, you can watch a video of us doing this, which is pretty fun. See you in 2 weeks.